Take it away.
Grandpa, how did you and Grandma get together?
Well, that's kind of a long story because I came out of the service in 1946 at the end. The war ended in 1945. I got out and I loved the beach so much. I had this good friend and we went to the beach every day. So you take any girls that were available, and so your mom and her sister were available a lot of times. And right away, I liked her. And we had this young adult club being formed at the church we went to, which was St. Michael's in L.A. We started dancing together, and she was such a good dancer. And all her life, she was so good. And so I started taking her out. And she was 3.5 years younger than me. And here I'm this old 21 XGI, and she just got out of high school. So she wasn't ready to get serious. But I was kind of looking around for the right woman, like all the other guys. And she impressed me because I heard that she was going to church every single day. She went to church at 8 o'clock in the morning, no matter what time she got home. And that really impressed me. So I started dating her, and I could date her like one day a weekend for maybe as much as 3 weeks, and then I'd call up and she'd have some flimsy excuse why she couldn't go, and I could tell it wasn't a good excuse, and that she just didn't want to go out with somebody getting serious. So I wouldn't go out with her for a month or so. Then I'd meet her at a dance or a party and start dancing with her and having a great time. We always had a good time together. So I'd start taking her out again. I hit the third week and she was busy again. So I said, I'm never going to take her out again. Well, that lasted a month or two. Then I'd start up again. So this went on for like 2.5 years. And so this one time I'd taken her out a number of times, and our club had this dance, they called it the Turnabout Ball, where the women invite the men. And the women wore formals, the men had to wear suits, and they have a band, and you'd have to buy a corsage for the girl. So I figured, well, she'll certainly invite me to this Turnabout Ball. She didn't, she invited some other guy. So God, I was crushed. Along about that time, this other girl came on the scene, Spanish girl, and she liked me and she treated me really well. So I was having a great time. I took her out Friday night, and her name, not Clarice in those days, it was Cleo. I took Cleo out, and we'd have a good time. And this is a life, So I was having a ball for about a month. And finally, the Spanish girl said, she says, you got to make up your mind. Which one do you like? And I figured, well, Clarice doesn't really like me that much. So I better play it safe. Go with a girl that does, So I tell her, well, okay, I'll take you. So we're going to start going steady. I said, but I have one problem. I invited Clarice to go to the USC Newman Club Christmas dance. So the Spanish girl said, okay, but after that, no more. I said, that's right. So I took her to this formal dance, and we had a fantastic time, like we always did. But this was even better. And my friends were there, and we danced the whole night. So I took her home, and she said, I really had a good time. And I said, I did too, but I said, this is the last time I'm going to take you out. because I would start going steady with her name was Carmen. And so she cried. So what's she crying for? She doesn't like me that much. That kind of bothered me a little bit. So I thought, well, maybe she had a little too much to drink or something. My good friend, who's now engaged, said he was going to have a Christmas party. So he invited me to come over with whomever I wanted. So I was going to stay with Carmen, so I took her over. So I'm holding her hand, and we go in, and that time, having parties at your house, if your house is big enough, was great. And they had one room, they called it the rumpus room. And they had a record player in there. It was just great. It didn't cost any money, except you had to bring beer or something, you know. So I walk in the kitchen holding my Spanish girlfriend's hand, and Cleo, that was her name. She doesn't use Clarice. Everybody called her Cleo. So Cleo jumps up. She's upset. It was obvious she was upset because I'm holding Carmen's hand, and she knows now I'm going steady with her. So she says, pardon me, and she goes out of the room to go into the girls' bathroom. And the Spanish girl says, I'll be right back. She follows her. And they go in there and they're in there for 45 minutes. So I'm there in the kitchen pouring extra drinks. Bourbon in those days. So they finally come out, and the Spanish girl's all smiles. And Clarice, her eyes are real red, she'd been crying. I said, I don't understand, what's she crying for? It bothered me. She acts like she's going to miss me, but she doesn't like me anyway, so what's she crying? So then the following week, I'm going to stay with Carmen. The same friend of mine had a New Year's Eve party. So my Spanish girlfriend said, I think it'd be nice if you danced once with her tonight during the party. I said, oh, okay. Just trying to please, you know. But I'm having second thoughts. Why is she crying? Maybe she does like me. So New Year's Eve, everybody has a few drinks. I have a few more. So I had to go to the boys' room. I was in the boys' room. I come out of the boys' room, and there's Cleo in the rumpus room by herself. Nobody's in there. And she's going through records for the next play of records. And so I say hello to her. She says hello back. And then I said, would you like to dance? She says, oh, yes. So I said, well, put a record on. So I figured she's going to play a fast piece with Glenn Miller. She puts a slow piece on. So I grab her to dance, and she puts her cheek next to mine. The whole dance, we danced cheek to cheek. I was captured. So this is just about New Year's Eve, and I see Cleo talking on the telephone. They didn't have cell phones in those days. And she's in this little telephone enclave that they used to have in houses, just with a telephone in and a stool. So she's talking to her girlfriend who's at another party. So I don't know what came over me. I go up and grab her and kiss her. While she's talking on the telephone, I pull her off the phone. And then it's New Year's Eve. I hear the bells going off. There's a tap on my shoulder. It's a Spanish girl. She says, how about me? So I give her a kiss. And I go kiss all the other girls. And I see Clarice get off the phone. And she comes in the front room, which is right off where the telephone was. And she looks at me. And I make sure she sees me, and I go out the front door. 5 seconds later, Who comes out the front door? Cleo. So I say, I'm a terrible guy. I'm supposed to be in love with Carmen, but I'm still in love with you. She said, oh, that's nice. I said, I have to ask you a question. Do you love me? And she stopped and says, I don't know. I said, no, you can't say that. You can say yes or no. Because I wanted to know. Because I know Carmen's going to be coming out that door pretty soon. So she gulps a couple of times and says yes. I grab her hand. We ran across the street through a vacant lot, and we got to hide around the houses in case Carmen comes out. So I stopped in the middle of the vacant lot and I said, I have one more question I want you to answer. Will you marry me? And she gulps and says, I don't know. I said, no, you can't tell me that. You got to say yes or no. So she gulped a couple more times and said yes. Figuring, well, I can get out of this tomorrow if I have to. So I grab her hand and we go, and we walk for about 6 blocks. Don't come back for an hour and a half. I said, well, I got to go back and take Carmen home because I brought her. So we go back to the house, walk in the front door. Everybody's gone except the couple who had the party, and they're just finishing cleaning up. So they said Carmen was crying and said, how could he do this to me? And somebody ended up being kind enough to drive her home. And so I took Cleo home. I'll pick you up for church the next day. And as soon as I drove up and she saw me, she said, I knew you were the man. So we went to church and I held her hand. And I took her home because she wanted to have breakfast with her family and I wanted to have breakfast with my family. So here we are, engaged. So after a couple of months, Cleo asked me, how many kids do you think we should have? And I said, well, I don't know. I've been an only child. I said, maybe 3 or 4. She said, well, why don't we leave it up to God? We pray that He'll bless our marriage, and why don't we leave it up to Him to decide? I never thought about that being an answer. So I thought about it, not too long, just a few seconds. I said, you're right, let's do that. So people thought we were crazy because we're having these kids real quick. First one we had 11 months after we got married. The next one was 11 months after that one. The next one was 13 months after that one. So we're having them real quick. It was a big challenge, but it always seemed to work out. When the kids started getting old enough to understand Cleo, or now she wanted to be called Clarice, she would talk to them about God, and we'd always pray with them. In fact, we used to pray in the front room. It was a long prayer. We said what's called the Rosary. So they learned about God when they were little. We put them in Catholic school. They learned about God there too. I think couples, when they get married, should have a third person in their marriage, God. If they have God in their marriage, it will really help them. I know it really helped us. And I think it's important that when you have kids, you tell them about God as soon as you're old enough to understand. Then I think people, when they get married, they should never discuss problems in front of the kids. They should go in the conference room, like we use our bedroom for the conference room. Come out with a solid agreement on what we're going to say. And we discussed it there first. And I think that's much better than arguing in front of the kids. And we never disciplined the kids in front of the other kids. We always made them go to their room. get up in your bed and sit there for a while and think about, like, if there are fighting between each other, and they're normal kids and they did that. Think about the other person and how he must feel. That was Mom's philosophy. And it worked out well. I think it's important that you show love to your spouse. Like whenever I came home, I gave her a big kiss. And she always called before I went home because I worked late, had to make money. And I'd call and tell her I'm coming home. And she'd go in and put fresh lipstick on and straighten her hair. And she was always ready for me. She gave me a big kiss. And we loved to dance. And so if the radio was playing, we had a television in those days, but not like it is now. So we'd dance in front of the kids. And I was promoting a new business. I was in business now for myself. And so we'd invite people out when we had dances we're going to and take them. And they'd come by the house and meet all the kids and talk to them, which was real good for them because they got to feel at ease with adults. I thought that worked out real well. So I think those are philosophies that I would like to pass on to people. We had to face a lot of problems like every big family does. And sometimes we didn't know the answer. And we prayed to him and he always came out with something. So it worked out. Clarice told me just before our 50th anniversary, she said, there's something I got to tell you. One of my girlfriends, after you taking me out one night on the weekend, she said, this is the third weekend you went out with Pat Murphy. What's going on? I said, oh, Pat Murphy. Pat Murphy and I are just good friends. We have a great time together, but he's just not my type. It kind of shook me up. After 50 years, she finally tells me this. So I thought about it for a minute or two. I said, if I'd been your type, instead of having 14 kids, we'd have 28. My 14 kids all still live in the area. Furthest one maybe 2 hours away. And they love each other. I tell that to people. I said, they all love each other, all 14 of them? I said, yeah. And even better than that, they still love Mom and Dad. And we love them. And whenever they come over, like tonight, you notice, when the girls came over, they give me a kiss. We've always done that. And I think it's important to show love. Okay.